So speaking about that, do we have any certifications or grading system for the students that is learning YSG, or probably the instructors even to a certain extent?
Yeah. Okay. I think we don't give out any certificate of attendance lah, unless we have done it, but a couple of times, or not very often. Like we have now is trying to develop programs with Yan Xiao Gong for things like using Yan Xiao Gong for stress release, more for psychological related matters lah. You see, what I found very interesting was these concepts of grounding and centering, right? And setting boundaries. These are actually concepts used in psychology for counseling, for counseling people with depression, anxiety, what they would term as mild mental illness, okay? Illness is a bad name, but, we call it mild mental illness in the sense that people with anxiety disorder, right, with depression, right? These techniques for grounding, centering, and setting boundaries are what they teach. And they actually coincide with what we teach in Yan Xiao Gong. So we've been using the Yan Xiao Gong to actually teach people these concepts. Because if you approach it purely from the mental point of view, if I just talk to you and ask you, okay, you must visualize this, it's very hard to do, really. So what we're actually employing is connecting your body to your mind. So we are using your body to train your mind, right? So again, we go back to this concept of mind-body connection, which is part of the Neigong tradition in the very beginning, right? So by training your body and you get this sensation of grounding in your body, that means that once you can ground and I push you, don't move, then that also helps your mind to ground. Okay? So when your mind grounds, then you don't worry. So this is good for people who have anxiety problems, issues, right? Because anxiety means you are excitable and you're worried about many things, you see. So when you're grounded, you know where you stand, you know you're firm, then all these worries become less important, So anyway, coming back to this, so we have been using Yan Xiao Gong for this sort of training. And of course, then this will be like companies or parties who want to do that. Then yes, then we issue a certificate for attendance. But for the normal Yan Xiao Gong classes, no, we don't have a certificate attendance. But having said that, we have an instructor's certification program, and we are actually want to encourage more instructors to join us. Because for me, I've been teaching this art for the last 3 years now, starting from not zero, because my father was teaching this for the last 10 years or so on a small scale, not in big public scale. So I've been following in his footsteps, and I found that it has actually given a lot of benefits to many people, right? It has helped many people. And I think it's an art worth spreading. So we're looking for more instructors to help us to spread this art. At the very basic level, what we call the level 1 instructor, the requirement is quite straightforward. One is that you are able to do, let's say, learn all the first six movements, right, of Yan Xiao Gong, the first 6 forms of Yan Xiao Gong, and you can do it correctly, okay? So that means you can do the postures correctly, and you know what are the mistakes, what are the possible mistakes that a student can learn, can make, right? So you learn to correct those mistakes. Of course, you correct them in yourself first, right? So in order to correct them, you need to know what the mistakes are. Okay, so you need to be aware of what are the possible mistakes, and you need to be able to do the form correctly, and you need to teach it correctly, right? And then from the diagnostic point of view, that means that, to see whether your student is doing right or wrong, you must be able to visually see that they are doing it right or wrong, okay? That means that you can recognize straight away, the guy's his arm is not right, it should be this and not this, right? So that is the requirements basically, right, in a nutshell. And of course, the other part of it is the teaching experience, and that can only come with teaching experience. So what we have done in the past, and this is what we use when we certify our first batch of instructors, is learn the first 6 forms first, practice it yourself until you get it right. And once you've got that, we actually encourage you to go out and teach. Don't need a certificate yet. And then we want you to teach for about a year. Practice and teach for about a year. Then at the end of the year, we will evaluate you. And if you meet the requirements for the level 1, we will issue you a certificate. So it's quite straightforward and simple. Of course, the certification and in between also you may have come to, may have to attend a couple of seminars. So we have instructors in Europe, here in Asia, at the moment, we don't have that many. It's not that difficult. You can be certified in Europe or you can be certified here currently. Okay, so that is the level 1 instructor. Okay, then level 2 is, the difference is what we want in level 2 is you must be able to do what you can do in the level 1, plus you must now have a certain mastery over your strings. That means that, I can activate my front string, I can activate my back string, and you can let the student feel that you have got the strings, what the strings feel like, right? So that, and because you can do it yourself, then you are also in a position to at least verbally guide the student or adjust him physically, say, this is what you do, this is what you do, then this is how you get your strings, okay? So the ability to manifest and use your own strings and the ability to teach the students how to feel their strings is what distinguishes level 1 and level 2, okay? Then level 3 is the one where the instructor will have already developed the ability to use E. And firstly, of course, using this E, then he can touch the student and sense, this is where you're doing it wrong, this is where you're disconnected, or your leg is too stiff, or your back is too stiff, things like that. So using the E, then you can, in a sense, help to diagnose what is wrong with your student and try and fix this problem, really. Right? It's level 3, then level 4 is level 4 is where then you can actually use your E to guide both his movements as well as his internal energy flow. Of course, that is at a quite an advanced level already, right? And so that would be a great help to teach students, right? Okay, so that you can actually use your E to guide him and then to help him to feel what is going on inside. Level 5 is more advanced. That means you can actually use your E and your Chi to help him to clear blockages.
Okay, all right. So those are the 5 levels for the instructors for YSG required, right?
That is not how many number of forms you know, okay? Because of course, if you go beyond level 2, then we require you to know at least more than just the 6 forms. The Shou Gong forms are very short and they're not difficult to learn, right? I mean, to learn the form itself. Of course, to learn about the internals and all that is a different matter. And each of the Shou Gong forms itself can go very deep. And I've been teaching the first 6 forms, and I'm still discovering new things within the first 6 forms, I know. So it is very deep. It has a lot of depth in it. It doesn't mean that you know the movement, that's it already. No. There's a lot of, it's like an onion. You peel away one layer, there's another layer underneath. You can go deep, many layers. Important thing is also to be instructor is that you must teach. You must have that teaching experience. And I think one of the other requirements to be instructor is, we call it supervised instruction now, right? That means that you conduct your class and we have one of our senior instructors observe how you teach, or you follow the senior instructor to conduct a few classes, at least maybe 2 or 3 classes, because we want to have a certain tradition and a certain way of conducting the classes, you see. And the only way to do it is if you can follow a senior instructor, so you pick up and use back the same patterns and you don't try and go and do something different, because we want at least a certain level of standardization. So right. So you have to do some form of supervised training,
Okay.
And maybe we're talking about maybe 2 or 3 sessions. So it could be, whenever there's a seminar, right? And then you come in as one of the assistant instructor in the seminar or something like that. Or you can organize a seminar and then one of our senior instructors or myself will go there and observe how you teach, you see.
Okay, there's another question asked Master Yap regarding of since we understand that YSG has been created from two main kung fu form, namely the Lohan Rui and also Wu Qi over here. So now, does it means that it's YSG is become as a simplified version of that two arts, being that it's makes simpler, since it's shorter already.
Yeah. I think, okay, what I can say lah, right? Firstly, YSG is certainly easier to learn. And also, what I want to state also lah, unfortunately, a lot of the Lohan Rui and the Wu Ji has been lost because Grandmaster Chi never taught all the forms out. So out of the 108 of the Lohan Rui, maybe 5 or 6 were actually taught. And I don't know if the people who learned them are still alive today. Okay, unfortunately, right? So some of the forms are lost. Yes, I know some of the senior instructors within our Five Ancestors School still have it, but definitely not all of them. Same with the Wu Ji. Out of the 36, maybe I think less than 10 exist. So a lot of that art unfortunately has been lost, okay? Because it was never taught completely. And even those people who learned it, they are probably in their 70s now. But I think like I said, some of that is still there. Okay, having said that, the other question rather is how effective, right, is Yan Shao Gong compared to the original forms? Okay, I think that is the more relevant question. Not whether it's easier to learn or is it better, right? But the proper question I think should be, is it more effective? Can I get results just as good or better than learning the original Wu Ji and learning the original Lohan Rui? And the answer to that question is yes. It actually gives faster results, okay? And this is something that I have personally observed. Although I did not learn the Wu Ji and Lohan Rui in my early days, okay? But I know of many of my Si Hengs who've done it, and they've done it for decades. Decades meaning 20 years, 30 years. And many of them have not actually got the internals. Very beautiful with the form, and they can do it, right? But when you say, okay, can you project energy to your hand? Can I put out your hand and I cannot move you? No. I would say 90+% of them cannot do it, even after 20 years, 30 years. Whereas I've been teaching Yan Shao Gong for, if you count the early days, I see, maybe 10 years because I started teaching together with my father because he dragged me in and said, hey, come, you join me and teach. That's how I started. I was originally, frankly speaking, not interested in Yan Shao Gong because in my younger days, that was too slow. It was meant for old people. Okay, I was dragged in to help teach. I felt the things happen in my body. I began to appreciate it. So anyway, since my teaching on Yan Shao Gong, I've seen the effects it has had on my students. Some of them are now my instructors. Lyndon, who's one of my chief instructor in Europe, is teaching Yan Shao Gong. He's been with me maybe 6-7 years, and his internal development is taken phenomenal leaps. Gawai yourself, right? I mean, you learn Yan Shao Gong for what, 2 years, 3 years? Yeah, 2 years, maybe 3 years. Yeah, and you felt the developments in yourself, right?
It is.
Yeah, so it does give results. And very good results, because what the results that I see has taken those people who have learned Wu Ji and Lohan Rui maybe 20 years and maybe 30 years to achieve, you see. And here you achieve it in, say, 5 or 6 years, you see, or 3 years already you can begin to see results, you see. So I think it is effective. And again, I believe the reason why is, that's why I have to make this very important point. Yan Shao Gong is not a simplified version of Lohan Rui and Wu Ji. Yan Shao Gong is the best parts of Lohan Rui and Wu Ji, okay? And that makes a very big difference, It's like when you go for a meal, right? You go for a buffet. Yeah, you have the whole buffet in front of you, right? Maybe 30 dishes, 50 dishes. But you pick the best, right? You try everything, you pick the best. And you get your value out of it, you see, by taking the best, you see. And I believe that is what Yan Shao Gong is, you see. It's taking the best out of these two arts and shortening it, condensing it, so that it's easier to learn. And because of that, also it gives much faster results. So you don't have to take 20 years to get it. Okay, you train consistently, even with the, let's say you start out with the online courses, and then you come to the seminars and all that. And if you're consistent with that, I can assure you, 1 or 2 years, you will begin to see results. And personally, I had students who say, "Oh, I've done 30 years of Tai Chi," and then, okay, I said, "Don't worry, put that aside. Let's do Yang Shou Gong." And after a few seminars, they actually come and tell me, wow, what I learned here was more than what I learned in my last 30 years and what I have achieved in my last 30 years. So I think I've seen those sort of results, and I'm confident to speak such And if you touch hands with some of our instructors, then you can feel it. I think end of the day, right? Yan Shou Gong is still a martial art because it's Nei Gong. And you want to have a proof of the pudding, it's just touch hands. Yeah, feel whether you can move the guy or not. You do a chi sao or you do push hands, or whichever you want. And you can test. You can see for yourself. Yeah. We stand by our ability, put it this way. We don't stand by, fancy marketing. Okay. And having said that, also, our way of teaching, and Kawai would agree with me, and all my other instructors feel the same, is we are lazy. Okay. We are lazy in the sense that I don't want to work 10 years or 20 years to get results. I want the shortcuts. I want to get it fast. I don't want to train so hard, right? So I want to train the easy but the better way so that I can get to the results faster. So that's why in our teaching and even in the way we express things, we want to make it very direct and very clear.